to be the one to break it to you, but sex education of the past failed us because birds and bees, they don't fuck. Welcome to Birds and Bees Don't Fuck, a podcast where we learn exactly how bad our formative sex education, or lack thereof, really was. I'm your host, Arielle. I'm a producer, intimacy coordinator, and sex educator. My guest today is a stand-up comedian, writer, and vegetarian. Welcome to the show, Chris Lewis.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. Incredible. Your cat is so close to the camera.
Oh my God. She's just blocking it straight up. The viewers are probably getting like a half. Yeah. I did warn you that she was going to walk in. She was going to make herself known on this podcast at some point for some reason.
Right.
And what does she do? Walks right in front of the camera. Ruby, come here. Can you maybe not do that?
Black host with a black cat. Come on.
That's right.
Love it.
I'm not black though.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's all
right. Okay, let me get this bitch out of the way.
That's a pussy. That's not a bitch.
Everyone in this house is this bitch.
All right. I'm this bitch today. One of the bitches.
Everyone in this house is this bitch or that motherfucker.
I want to tell my mother, if you see this, I still love Christ, and but I have to be honest.
Yes. That's the parental disclaimer.
Parental disclaimer.
My mother will never listen to this podcast.
Really?
I don't think so.
You're lucky. My mom's
she doesn't want to. They don't want to hear me. I told them, so I'm go-go dancing at a friend's show in like a cheerleader costume. It's not even like my ass is, I mean, it's out because it's always out because it's big, but you know, it's not like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at a comedy show. Do you know Sam Sweets?
Sam Sweets. It rings a bell.
Samantha Dane. She did the show also.
Okay, cool.
But she has a show called Comedy a Go-Go. And so she does comedy and then has go-go dancers, which are, you know, like in cheerleader costumes. And my parents are going to be here. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm doing the show. Like I told her like a month ago, she booked me. So I'm doing the show, but like, you're welcome to come. And my mom was like, I don't know. I got to ask daddy.
Oh, wow. You got to ask daddy. Oh my gosh. Interesting.
Yeah, daddy. I will never call someone I'm fucking daddy. So like,
I always love that people call the person fucking daddy. It's like, wow, what? Did you have a dad? I don't know. It's interesting. I always wonder where that came from.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kink for sure. And it comes from a lot of different places for a lot of different people, I think.
Yeah.
There are a lot of assumptions around that. But like some people just think it's really fucking hot because I think it's the control aspect and like the authority and you know, that type of a dynamic.
Yeah.
So
that's very true. I think guys do love to call their girl like, oh, hey, mama. You know, it goes both ways. There's a parental kinky thing that's out there.
There's
kinks.
Definitely parental kinks. Oh,
Yeah,
big time. But I mean, like coming from New York, I say mama all the time. I'd be like, oh, what's up, mama? Like, how you doing, mama? Like, that's like,
it's like typical.
Yeah. It is just like the language.
The lingo.
Where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles. I don't know why I changed my voice and said that. I do. So I'm going to make a lot of different voices throughout this because it's like I'm always doing animations or something. But I'm from Los Angeles, West Los Angeles. Grew up in Culver City, Inglewood area. Yeah. So I'm a LA native, but everybody always thinks I'm from the South. I don't know if you get that too, but like you sound very Southern. Maybe because I'm nice.
Really?
I don't know where that people always think.
I feel like there's some racism in that assumption.
Oh, listen.
A nice black man. Oh, he's got to be from the South. Like, I've lived in the South. You don't sound Southern.
Okay.
Like,
I appreciate
Southern
that.
people have a fucking twang.
I appreciate that. People say, oh, are you sure you're from the South? I'm like, dude. I'm like, or whoever I'm talking to. I'm like, transplants are pervasive out here.
Yeah.
So usually when you meet somebody out here, they're not from LA.
Yeah.
So they're acting as if they are from LA. So I'm like, I'm from LA. I know people from LA. We all are pretty cool. You know, we're usually pretty easy to talk to.
It's a chill place. It's beautiful out all the time.
Yeah. And I feel like
creative.
Yes. It's creative. It's very, it's creative.
Yeah.
It's very creative. So it's always interesting when people are like, oh, are you from the South? I'm like, you've been talking to the wrong people.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, obviously I am not in a position to say what is or is not, but for me, like hearing that, I'm offended.
Oh, you're offended for me? I love this.
I am, because I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like there's some bullshit rooted in there. And like, of course, you always want to think like people are good, but there's also so much systemic racism that's ingrained in us and genderism and all like the The bullshit that we say is because of the things that
you're gonna win a lot of Black viewers after this show. Let me tell you something. I told her before we even got on here. I said, "Listen, they're gonna claim you.
That's cool.
You're like, I mean, you're brown enough to,
I got the booty.
You got the booty. Listen, it's there. I saw it. I saw it consensually.
Yeah,
it was a consensual scene. I didn't like non-consensually see it. I was like, we talked about it. There was a
Chris,
soft.
This is my butt.
And I was like,
I want you to know that it exists.
It was a whole introduction, guys. She was like, "This is my butt." I was like, "Cool."
Say hello.
Say hello. I said, "Hi, back."
Actually, in high school, they used to call me ALO because it was the time of J-Lo. So, like, I was called ALO for a while.
Yeah. You're nice. You're nice.
That was, I mean, listen, thank you. Some of my earliest memories are like dudes commenting on my butt. Yeah. Like,
Did I never. Hate that? Were you like, where's my face? Comment on my face. You know what I mean? I always want to do women like, that's so disrespectful. Because it's not my face.
I get that. But I think for me, I was a lot darker growing up and I went to a Jewish school. So like, and a lot, like there was just a lot of lights, like a lot of white girls around me. Right. And so I think for me, when people were like, and of course it was usually like Black guys, Latino guys, you know what I mean? Like they like them. Yeah, exactly.
But you got a good face too. Let's be clear.
Thank you.
I know you can't see it because you're listening right now, but her face is nice too.
Thank you. But I think I was just happy to get the attention. And even when people never knew what I was. They were always like, "What are you?" And then it was like, "You're so exotic," which I understand now as an adult. It's like, I mean, I think "What are you?" Again, I think I was just so happy to be getting attention and getting noticed.
Can we dive into attention?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Because
I'm so interested about that.
It is because when you grow up with the white girl with light, like milky white skin, blue eyes, perfect little nose, blonde hair, or like maybe like a nice little strawberry blonde, like all of these features that the media and everyone around us, especially growing up in like, this is not a free country, it's a fucking Christian country, but like that's what the value was, especially in the 80s and 90s and before that. And so when you grow up with like all of the girls around you that look like that are getting attention and getting the boys and getting kissed and getting asked out and all that stuff. And then like, I always thought I was fucking so ugly because I had dark skin and dark eyes and I had a big nose and like, I felt like my eyes were sunken in.
The Black people are going to claim, the Black women might claim you after this because I have Black sisters and I love them very much. And a lot of my sisters and my Black female friends, they had the same feeling where it's like, oh, I'm too dark or I'm too thick.
Yeah.
The thick thing is very new.
Yeah. Oh,
when we were coming up,
new.
that wasn't a thing. It was like,
but people, I would say guys always like the booty. Like the booty.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that was definitely, that was the only thing that was noticed on me.
That's true.
That was my asset.
Boom.
But like, I didn't have boobs. I still don't have boobs. I'm still waiting for those motherfuckers to grow
in. It's so
in.
crazy because I'm like trying to train my eyes to not, like when you talk about certain parts of your body, I'm like, okay, I have to ask for consent before I look.
Yes.
But
we're talking, so you can look.
Okay,
it's
great.
Fine.
Those are quality boobs. They're
Thank
not
you.
like
they're perky as fuck for just about 40.
You're doing something right. It's probably the pole dancing. It's probably a connection pole dancing and perky tits.
But also gravity. There's not much to bring down. So they're going to stay high because there's not a lot of weight. I got my first mammogram a couple of weeks ago and I was like, can you even get them in there to squish?
You gotta squish that thing, man.
Yeah, it's like a weird little squishy pancake thing. Yeah. Not as bad as I think people make it out to be, but I think if you have bigger boobs, there's more to squish, so it hurts more. For me, I'm just like, did you get it? You good? Is it gonna slip out?
It feels like everything guys like on women hurts eventually in life. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, big tits is gonna hurt later.
Yeah.
A big butt's gonna hurt later.
It's gonna hurt later.
I mean,
your heart gonna hurt later.
Your heart's that's deep. Mm-hmm. That's actually really true.
We go deep on this show.
Listen, that's really deep. That's deep. That's deep.
Deep penetration.
Deep penetration
into that heart.
Yeah, getting your heart deeply penetrated is scary because there's vulnerability.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked. I just came out of 9 months of therapy. And I just ended it, I think, a month ago.
Wow.
So I just realized, like, okay, ready.
Yeah.
Some people get therapy forever. And I think a lot of that vulnerability is opening my heart.
Yes.
So much. And
Which is honestly a lot harder than opening your legs. For some people, for other people, it's like, oh no, like that's the secret thing. But
that's a good point.
But being seen and allowing yourself to be seen in a way that is your soul and your heart and your mind and the person that you are when no one else is looking.
That's a big deal.
That's a big fucking deal let somebody see that.
That is a big
deal.
And to
want somebody to see that.
That's a big deal. And I've the older I've gotten, beautiful experience I've had women, thank all the women that I've had experiences with sexually and mentally.
And we thank you for going to therapy as well.
Oh yes, I needed it.
On behalf of any woman that you date moving forward, thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, I was like, well, yeah, because I had so much work to do, and I wasn't like a toxic boyfriend or lover, but it was just I was so quick to leave. I just leave. Like I'm like, oh, too much, bye.
Yeah.
And I don't think I understood when you get that emotional connection with a woman how that's so important to her, and you really have to like massage it. You can't just even if it's done, you can't really just say bye, and I was just like, well, it's done, I'm done, so you should be done. And I think I did that a lot, and I had to learn. And then once I realized that, then it was like I started crying. I cried for like a week.
Yeah, I just get them tears out.
I just cried, and it was around the time Kobe died.
Oh, so you were just like
double cries,
feeling the things.
Yeah,
you were feeling the things.
I was feeling the things. So yeah, everything you're saying about opening, and that's so deep. The opening your legs is easier than opening your heart. That's a bar.
It is a bar right there.
It could be a t-shirt.
Ooh,
maybe you should.
Birds and Bees Don't Fuck t-shirts.
Yeah.
I do want to make some t-shirts because I think it's really fun.
I think you should.
Look, I have stickers.
I saw your stickers.
Yeah, you can take these stickers. These are the first run of stickers that I did.
They're nice. Look at these stickers.
Look at the stickers. I'm gonna be vandalizing shit.
Vandalizing Birds and Bees.
Because that's the truth. No, but it is, especially for men, and what I'm not going to pretend to know about Black culture, but what I know about Black culture, I think men going into therapy is like that. I think is even more of a layer than other men going into therapy, from what I understand. Which again, I don't want to pretend like
no. You're around. I mean, it's interesting because America is weird because we see Black culture, but we're not around it all the time. So I don't know another culture that people are more privy to that they're not around, other than white culture. Yeah. It's like Black and it's white, and then everybody else you gotta just get around in the know.
Figure it out, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think you're wrong. You know what I mean? With Black people, therapy just became a thing, I want to say the last few years.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar dropped a really good album where he basically was just talking about how he was getting therapy.
Nice.
And that was just a dope album to drop because I've never heard a rapper drop an album about basically getting therapy. And also like,
yes,
it's just also just like okay. So the Black identity in this country is like what you're told you are. And then there's what you actually are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of Black people, I can't speak about Black people, no, we're not monolith, but I feel like a lot of Black people, we're seeing who they are through like social media.
Of course.
Like you see these kids, these Black kids that are into tech and anime, and they're not what we've been told they were. So now when those videos go viral, it makes it okay to say, oh, this is who I am as a Black person,
Yeah. So
I think now it's cool because you have social media and people push it and then it goes viral. Like, okay, I guess I can do this because 1 million people watched this video of this kid talking about tech.
Yeah.
Or talking about rock music.
Yeah.
I used to hide the fact that I listen to rock music.
Yeah.
I used to hide that so hard. I mean, I love hip hop too. I'm a hip hop head, but I'm a rock head too. And it's like, I used to hide that because it was like, oh, I don't know if this is Black. I don't know if I listen to Soundgarden, Nirvana, and Alice in Chains. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Or Radiohead or whatever I was listening to.
It's a lot of pressure.
My Bloody Valentine. I'm like, I was into everything. Kai is. So it was like, I used to hide that. So yeah, to your point, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, rock and roll came from Black people.
Isn't that crazy? That's the craziest thing. We just like abandoned that music. I don't know why we did that.
Because of fucking white supremacy. What do you mean? Right, Elvis stole it. It's not your fault. Like, this isn't you. I'm
taking them.
Take that shit back. No, you do whatever you want. But
I don't know. But you're right though. White supremacy is a big component in that. But
it's in so much of you as a Black person, me as a woman, me as a white person that,
Yeah.
like is considered white, but like
Yeah.
doesn't fully have the white experience.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, like
That's a great point. You don't
know?
really have it because you look like so many things.
Yeah. I
You know
don't,
what I mean?
I don't
Good
have
things.
any experience because people
Really?
like white people. It's interesting now that you say
Mhm.
it. So white people will be like, yeah, you're white.
Right.
Even though like I was treated differently, especially when I was younger,
Yeah,
like,
your treatment was totally different.
and I would never claim to be a POC because I am not.
Wait, you're Jewish?
I'm Israeli. Yeah.
Israeli? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's Yemenite.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I'm dark. It's the Yemeni. But like, it's interesting because POCs, they will be like, yeah, you're brown. Like it's so interesting.
It's the visuals.
It's
weird.
It's weird.
White is weird.
White is weird.
I mean,
it's all weird,
right?
The fact that we're even having a conversation around it is weird? Fucking weird. I mean, it's literally chemicals in your skin. It's melatonin.
Yeah,
it's layers of your skin.
That's all makeup. It is. But like, sometimes I feel bad for white people because I'm like, it's got to be hard to like live up to like the societal expectations of being white.
Yeah.
And then the look.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like all white people look. I mean, there's Southern Italy. There's so many different versions of white people. Yeah. Brown, olive skin. They don't match the blonde hair, blue eyes stereotype at all.
And like, the fit body and this and that. Like then you have like the layers of fat phobia.
Yeah, for sure. Fat phobia. I mean, there's all the phobias.
All the phobias.
That makes sense. But all the phobias. But it's like, yeah, it's got to be difficult. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, I wonder what it's like for white women to not live up to what a white woman's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Does that suck?
What an interesting thought. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was reading about suicide rates, and I think the people with the most suicide rates, it was like white men had the highest suicide rates from like 40 to something, 35.
I've seen that.
Right.
Well, I'm raising money now for Movember through the Distinguished Gentleman's Drive. And it's for suicide prevention. Wow. So they've got all those stats.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the lowest was Black women.
Wow.
Which was very interesting. And it made me think, okay, why are the people that are getting the most shit from society not killing themselves?
Yeah.
But the people that have the societal upper hand murdering themselves.
Yeah.
And it wasn't white women either. It was white men.
White men.
Which was like, this is interesting. It was like interesting thought,
is.
Kind of experiment. Like, I wonder what that is.
But I also think to a certain degree, like, especially Black women, it's like they're not allowed to have a full human experience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there's this idea of like the strong Black woman, and a lot of women get this, but you know, I think it's an extra layer for Black women. And again, I do not want to be speaking for anyone.
They're going to claim me after this. You're fine. You already look like...
You're just saying like, this is my current understanding and always open to learning more.
I'm not a Black woman either, but I feel like the way you're approaching it is respectful. I can't see a Black woman being like, what are you doing? Shut up. I can't. I mean, not that Black women all talk like that, because I could be looked at as but the reality is like, no, you see the experience, you know what it is. I mean, I think it's good when people that aren't Black talk about the Black experience.
But I think that's maybe why we're seeing it, because it's like, it's almost like they're not allowed to have that moment of weakness where like white men are like, this is hard. Bye.
That's hilarious. Bye,
we're like, there's a lot more tenacity there when you're a person with the experience, whether you're a Black woman or someone else. But if you are a marginalized person, your entire existence to a degree is fighting. And this is where intersectionality comes in, because there's different layers of what that fighting looks like. And not saying that those white men aren't fighting. They are. We're all fighting our own battles.
There's great white men. I like Noam Chomsky, Howard Zinn. There's a ton of white men, that are like super allies, that have been like... No,
but I'm saying like personal battles. They're like hurting and they're like struggling and stuff like that. And I think when people talk about privilege, that's where they get really like offended. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean that you're not, struggling. You are struggling. But I think from a marginalized person, when your entire existence is struggling, it's almost like you don't even know that there's an escape. Like that's not even an option to think about, I don't know. I'm totally hypothesizing.
But this is a great hypothesis, because in reality, when you're drowning in trauma, you're drowning in trauma.
Yeah. It's like, it's one thing at a time.
Yeah. You don't, it's not like, I can just leave this city. I like, for instance, like inner cities, right? And people are impoverished and they're just dealing with everything. Like the education system sucks. There's no opportunities. There's a liquor store in every corner. They're raised in a city where everything is, there's nothing. So to think of something is like abnormal, because that's how you've been raised.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I'm a big component of like your environment is like your third parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love
You
that.
know what I mean? Like your environment is your third parent. So you have your parents at home, and then when you go out, the environment's raising you.
Yeah.
So you don't know
Yeah.
what's available to you because there's nothing, you don't have access.
And studies have also shown, you can see that people who are below the poverty line or just don't really have that much money, they don't have anything in their savings account, but they have like beautiful TVs. And the reason for that is because they're not in a position to see a future. So they want to have what they can now. And it makes perfect sense. If you're constantly just trying to keep afloat, it's hard for you to, and there's like a massive amount of mistrust, as there should be, for systems that have taken advantage and taken things away.
That's what they don't talk about.
You know, so it is, And when you're thinking about things like pleasure, because of course, from a sex educator standpoint, first of all, there's a ton of access that, you know, where you sit within poverty and privilege and all of that, like the access is just different. Not everybody has the internet. Not everybody has a phone or something that they can be listening to even this podcast to. And when you're in that pretty much constant trauma state of just like working 2 jobs, trying to feed your kids, trying to solve the problems, fighting with your spouse or partner or baby daddy or whatever.
Everything.
Like, where do you find that? How can you even start to think about pleasure when that's your daily life? And how do we how do we support that better? I don't know the answer to that.
That's well said. That's a beautiful way to say it and bring up the discussion. I'm always like, so pleasure in Black culture, I feel like, is an escape in some form or fashion. For instance, I feel like in those areas where Black people are impoverished, there's nothing to do but have sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to do but have sex. Nothing but sex and how to make money, which could be illegal, could be legal, whatever it is. But when you have nothing, you fall into having sex because it's a thing to do. It's things to do. It's a quick way to feel good. You know, so alcoholism, sex, all the guilty pleasures are going to be pervasive, in those cultures, in those cities. So, and I think a good point you raised was about the pleasure. It's not something we can talk about, but it's definitely being explored. You know what I mean?
But also, like, sex doesn't equal pleasure because because people are.
I think about that.
It's true. Just because people are having sex because it's a thing to do and it's a way to pass the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's pleasurable, that it's expansive, that they're exploring kink if they want to, because kink can be really expensive. Like, I mean, there are obviously household tools that you can use, but learning how to do it safely, that is an access problem.
True.
Or even like buying something to be kinky with, or the belief that you have to buy something to be kinky with. These are all barriers to entry to pleasure. Yeah, it is a really interesting conversation to have and something to look at when we're looking at different communities. And
I just love
pleasure.
That you care. Seriously.
Thanks.
I mean, that's the first step, is caring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't care, you won't do any research. You won't try to figure these things out. You won't try to educate yourself. And I think, Black culture is so complex. It's not as simple as people think it is. It's a very complex culture. And so my theory about Black culture, being in it, being a Black person and everything, is that, okay, so basically every Black African American is biracial, right? Because I think the average Black person is like 80% Black, right?
Yeah.
So right there, they're already different. People don't talk about that. So in being a Black person, there's so many variations of us.
Yeah.
There's Creole, there's like that, the islands. I mean, there's a lot of different versions of Black people in America. So we're all kind of different, but we're all trying to be the same thing. And I think when it comes to like sex, it's like sex is so important. It's like a big part of our identity here. It's a huge part of Black identity, like being sexual. I don't know if it's something that like it's because we had nothing else and we just got good at, okay, we have to be sexual beings. Cause even our music, okay, like now it's just raunchy as hell. It's just straight. I fuck her in the butt. Like it's just straight to the point.
Listen, Lil' Kim was raunchy. She had that shit. Like we've been raunchy for a while out here. Like,
and nothing's wrong with raunchy. I love it.
Yeah.
But even if you go back to like the 70s and that beautiful era, like Marvin Gaye, it was still very sexually charged music. It was just a romanticized way of talking about it.
But here's the thing: if we really, really want to go back and you look at slavery and how much sexualization of the black body there was there, like it all fucking comes back to that shit. And and how much of how we see sexual expression now comes from that. And like, I mean, it's so hard to think about, like everything would be different because like nobody would be here. And I mean, I think this is also why a lot of people tend to say like, oh, blacks and Jews are similar, because it's kind of like there's only like 0.01% Jews in the world.
Wow.
But there's less Jews than redheads. Wow. Less Jews than intersex people.
You teaching me? I did not know that.
They're
the way TV talks about Jewish people, you would think it's like there's so many.
No, it's 0.01% of the global population.
That's
I believe that is the correct, but it's like it's small. It's less than the amount of redheads. I can tell you that.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. But the point is that they're all across the world. There are black Jews, there are Chinese Jews, there are
Ethiopian Jews.
Jews. There are Jews everywhere with different cultures and different bodies and different skin tones and all of these things. And to your point of like trying to be the same, like there is that as well. Like being Jewish is real weird because it's like the religion, but the ethnicity, but it's not an ethnicity.
Yeah, it's ethno-religious.
It's like it's fucking. I don't know like, what it is.
I've heard it's ethno-religious. I was like, okay,
a Jew. But it is different than a religion because it's not. And I can't. It's so hard to explain that. But yeah, it's just. I think anytime we're trying to fit all of these different humans with a vast range of human experiences into any sort of a box, it doesn't fucking work. That's why like all the heteronormative stuff around us, we're trying to fit every single human being into a heteronormative box as if all of our genitals were the same. Like that's even with like male, female. That's not scientifically speaking, biologically speaking. You forget about, you want to talk about gender. You want to just talk about science. It's more than just that because people are born with different genital, hormonal, and chromosomal makeups.
Right. It's
like
it is. It's the way our species is wired. And I think every species has that too. They have these different variations of sexual fluidity. You can find gay people in any species.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
It's not like it's just natural human. It's natural to everything. Natural. So it's weird. I mean, policing sexuality is interesting. I mean, obviously, I grew up in a religious household. I love my mother to death, and I love Christ and stuff too. But I mean, I also have to be honest with myself and how I feel about things. And I never understood policing sexuality. I think I don't know. Especially growing up, I never understood what was Christ like about that. Did Christ ever police people's sexuality? I don't think there was any time he did that.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, there's some Bible verses, people said don't do that, and that was it. But I don't know how that's Christian. I just think you should just allow people to be how they are. And I feel like science has to matter in this too.
Yeah, of course.
It can't just be purely, because nothing's purely faith-based, right? If we lived off faith alone, we'd be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, quite honestly.
That part.
There's no way around that. So it's like science has to matter. So it's like you have to intertwine the two. And I just think people are the way they are. It's like, it's just a weird thing to police. I just don't understand the police.
It is a weird thing to police.
It's such a personal thing to police.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like policing thoughts. It's
like,
you can't think
which they do. Like society has always done that. Thought police, like that shit's weird.
It's very weird.
So I know you grew up religious and in your household was religious, but did you go to a religious school or did you go to a public school?
I went to a public school. I went to I went to Count Elementary, went to Westchester High School, went to Override Middle School, jumped around Mayfair for a little bit before I graduated and all that stuff. But I just went to the church. My mother moved here from Little Rock, Arkansas. My grandmother had her at 15. They moved here and they moved to West LA. And my grandmother at the time, she was schizophrenic, but she was like, she managed it well. So she always had a job. She always took care of everybody. So they used to go to church. And that was like the thing. Go to church and then go to Fred Price. Fred Price is still one of my favorite pastors. I have favorite pastors. You know what I mean? Most of them are charlatans, but I mean, it's just true.
Yeah.
It's just true. But I mean, Fred Price was actually a really good pastor that my mother that's the first church she went to in the 70s. And then she just carried on with that. And then when my grandmother kind of broke, because I guess my step grandfather, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
He's like my biological grandfather. But they broke up. She kind of had a nervous breakdown, and my mom went full into the church. Full into church, which is a trauma response.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, it's fine too. I mean, if it works, so that is where we got it. Yeah. It's like, we're going to church every Sunday. So we went to church, and we go to Fred Price in LA, and the services were great. So I just got, that's how I got hip to Christianity. And so, but then, I remember we went to one church when I was like 17, and this is where I started veering off. I was like, I have intuitive feelings that I'm rejecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, some of this stuff doesn't match what I'm feeling. And this pastor, it was GCFI church. I don't care. I'm telling you. GCFI church in Carson. And I said, something feels bad about it. Something's off with this guy. And I told him, like, no. Mom was like, no, he's a man of God. And I was like, no, something's wrong with this guy.
I don't know about that.
So I stopped going to church for like 2 weeks. And my mom, she was so mad at me. And then within 2 weeks, she was like, Chris, I think you were right. We found out the pastor had got one of the service members pregnant. He was doing this thing where he was taking offerings and saying there was a empty lot across the street. He was like, we're going to build a new church over there. And he had pocketed like $1 million. This is a small church.
Wow. $1 million?
He had pocketed like $1 million.
That's like mega church shit.
It is mega church shit. Wow. He pocketed $1 million, and and he got a woman pregnant. So he not only was he committing adultery, he was stealing.
Damn, it was all of it.
Yeah, so my mom left the church, but I remember being like, oh, I didn't. And I had a feeling something was off with him. So that's when I was like, oh, there's something higher than what I'm being told, because I was right.
Yeah. And
there was no indication that he was that way, but I was like, something's off with him. Mm-hmm. I'm reading him, and he's not truthful. And he talked about money every Sunday. It was just like, I guess that was a giveaway, but I was like, something's off. Mm-hmm. So that's when I started like kind of going into deeper spiritual things and meditation and Reiki and all that type of stuff. And I just started veering off, and I still keep my Christian roots, but I have other things that I attach to that, because it's just the way it is. Like numerology is interesting to me, and synchronicity. Mm-hmm. It's like I have so many synchronicities in my life. I have this thing with crows.
Have you ever looked at what crows mean?
Yeah, it's like they're very mysterious, magical. They have to do with creativity, the unknown. Ooh. They follow me all the time. It doesn't sound like I'm crazy, but literally my ex, they would follow us all the time.
Wow.
We go on trips and they'd follow the car.
You're the crow whisperer.
I guess.
Ooh, I like
very
that.
Interesting. Yeah. I never told anybody that before.
Well, now you told everybody.
I just told everybody.
All 25 listeners.
Oh no, this will be this one day. This is gonna have thousands of listeners.
It will. So in school, do you remember being taught about sex?
We got taught about. We had a class. Mm-hmm. It was very quick. It was middle school, and they showed us the birth video, which is a weird
birth video.
I was like,
everybody's seen that birth video.
I know. I was like, this is a weird way to talk about sex. Like, that's like scaring me away from sex. It's like, I don't do that to a woman.
I think that was the point.
That was the point, right?
Yeah,
this doesn't make me want to hurt. I want to hurt anybody, right? And then they showed us the condom, and then they had like the little vagina, sort of model, and they had the penis model, and they said, this is what this does, and this is here, and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, interesting. But it wasn't like in depth. We just, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Go back to your whatever period you're in. So we didn't
Please make it stop, because I don't want to talk about this with children anymore. Bye.
No, literally.
I'm just the health teacher, gym teacher, whatever teacher, science. Who was it? Do you remember like which teacher it was?
It was like one of our science teachers. I never had her, but I know you could tell she was visible. Looking back, in my 12-year-old eyes, she was visibly uncomfortable.
It's so funny.
She was uncomfortable. She was like, "This is weird. Penises and vaginas."
They ain't paying me enough for this.
Yeah, for real. Back then too.
That's
that was
for sure what they were thinking.
Yeah, she was like, "This is not working."
Yeah,
that was the thing.
And so you didn't talk about it at all at home. Yeah. Or did you ever, like, after that, was it just one class? Was it just like, this
class.
Is the one thing?
It was a one-off class.
Yeah.
And that was it. We never that was it.
Figure it out, kiddos.
Right. But the cat went across the room. I was like, cool. This cat is awesome.
She's cool.
She's cool. But I was introduced to sex early, or at least sexual things. Like in elementary school, I did have a girl we would kiss and touch each other under the table.
Ooh.
That was like a thing.
Ooh.
I don't want to say her name.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I'm not going to say her name. But I remember we used to say, let's go on the table and we kiss. And then like She touched me, I touched her. And it was like, I must have been like 8 or I must have been like, no, I was like 9. I don't know where I got that from. Ooh. Ooh, you guys don't know.
There's some shit going on with
dog
these
cat
creatures.
Yeah, they're having fun with me.
These creatures that just live in my
These
house,
creatures that live in your house.
disrupting my podcast.
Disrupting the podcast. They want to be on the podcast.
They do. Ruby very much does.
She does.
She makes herself known. Like, she'll be doing nothing, and then I'll start recording, and she's like, I guess I'm gonna get up on this table right now. Okay.
He's like, okay, go do your thing.
Yeah.
Girl. But yeah, so no, but to answer your question, at the house, no, my mom never talked to me about sex. My dad never. It's crazy because my dad was like a sexual deviant.
Was he?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In his youth, or like as you were growing up?
As I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was always, doing anybody that wasn't my mama. You know what I mean? And that was an issue.
Did you understand that as a kid?
I was hurt because I felt bad for my mom.
Yeah.
And I'm such a mother's child that
it's called a mama's boy.
I know. I tried to make it sound.
No, I'm just teasing you.
You're right. I'm such a mama's boy. It's true though. I'm such a mama's boy. So I was like, oh, that's my mom. Like, how could you hurt my mom?
Yeah.
How could you want something more than my mom? And it's interesting. But my dad was just a serial cheater. Mm-hmm. And he was cheating with, people gonna find out, guys and girls.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
I find out that my dad was into dudes. And I remember when I found out, it was like 98 or I was on the computer when he had AOL.
Oh, shout out to those chat rooms.
Shout out to AOL. Ooh,
ASL, baby.
That was a good time right there.
It was.
Floppy disks.
Oh.
And I was on the computer and like when you don't delete the history.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm about to go to like AOL Music or something. Watch a video, some Red Hot Chili Peppers video or something. And then I went in there and I was like, ooh. At the time, this is not the right terminology, but it was transvestites. Mm-hmm. That was the website. That's the name. This is what it was called.
Okay.
And I remember I tapped on it. I was like, whoa. And it was like chicks with dicks, like all over the place. Like, whoa. I remember sitting in front of you. I was like, wow. And I don't even know what this is right now.
Yeah.
But my dad, and it was like a lot of websites.
That's a lot for a kid to be exposed to and just be like, what is all this? Especially if like we're not teaching people. I think now kids very easily understand trans people. Like, it's so easy to there's like not even a fucking question.
It's not even a question.
We so belittle kids and their intelligence. They're way better than we are.
Yeah. Kids are smart.
But that's a lot for a kid at that time because of the way that society treated people and the way that it was positioned and like just everything that you said of like the titles of the websites and everything. Like it's so diminishing.
It was very diminishing. It was literally chicks with dicks, transvestite. Like that was the title of the website.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it was.
Yeah.
And there was like a few of them. It was like 4 of them. I remember like, wow, okay, my dad's gay. And then that was my thought. My dad's gay. Okay. And then I think, I'm not gonna put my sister's information out there, but I remember when I was like, I found like porn everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like with my mom, my dad would just leave. He would like start these arguments and leave and just not come back till like the next day. I was like, what the hell? What's wrong with my dad? And he was going to see some woman, So like creating an excuse to go out and cheat. And my dad was abusive. I mean, he abused my mother, verbally and physically. And she put up with that. She's like, I have a great mom, But, she put up with that. And, it was like, whoa, my dad has a problem. I think I have a brother in Hawaii I've never met or something like that. I think he's got to be like 30 now or something, maybe 28. But it's like, wow, my dad's got an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing. So that was my introduction to sex, really. It was just finding my dad's, what he was into.
Yeah.
Nobody talked to me about sex.
And did you have anybody were you able to talk to your sister about it? Or was that also like, because brothers and sisters sometimes can also be like a weird,
dynamic. That was my little sister. I didn't want to talk to her about it.
Oh, okay.
My little sister was going through so much, so I didn't want to talk to her about it.
That makes sense.
So I was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to talk to her. She's littler than me. And then my older sister, she had a kid early because my nephew is 31.
Mm-hmm.
I'm his uncle. I'm older than him, but it's like, wow, it's crazy. So like that, my introduction to sex was just what people were doing.
Yeah.
There was no conversation like, hey, let me talk to you about the birds and the bees. And I think my mom never wanted to talk about that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially because it's religious and it's like sex is so weird because you need sex.
Yeah.
Right?
It's literally how we all got here.
Right. But it's like, don't talk about it. It's like, what?
But that's also just even outside of having sex, like there's so much stuff that your body is doing.
Right.
Because the body's going body.
Yeah.
That like when we're not just talking about like discharge or wet dreams or pre-cum and all of that stuff. That's
deep.
That shit. But it's like, that's what sex is. And that's what sex education is. It's just understanding how your body works. It's like, you know,
that's just what it is.
It is what it is. Like, it's how your body works and how it works with other bodies. And, you know, like attraction can happen in your brain or your body.
Right,
and
sapiosexual or something.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. I mean, it's so expansive, but I mean, I think we're in a better place now. But
I think you're just really brave. Because I feel like a lot of people don't want to like really venture into like what sex actually is. You know what I mean? Because everybody's like, oh, sex is like fucking and tits and dicks. But it's like, there's a lot of stuff happening with sex. Like,
a lot
going on. Like emotionally, psychologically, it's a big deal. I've always looked at it as a big deal. You know, I don't know if that's the religious component, but even now, even though I don't, you know, obviously we've all had sex now outside of marriage, but it's like, even now, whenever I get lucky enough to get a partner, it's like, oh, okay, this is a serious thing for both of us. You know what I mean? This isn't an exchange.
Yeah.
Like emotional exchange, biological. There's a lot of things that are going to happen to us that's going to be different after this. So nobody talks about that part.
But the beautiful thing is that it's not that for everybody, because for other people, it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, facts.
It's an activity.
Hey, me too. No, I'm joking.
You know what I mean? But like, go to a play party. Like, it's just play parties. There's different things you can do, and some of it does include oral or penetrative sex or digital sex or toys or whatever. And one of the things that's so beautiful about sex, and when we can really educate ourselves on it, is to understand that the experience is different for everybody, and that's completely okay.
That's a fact.
If for you it is something that's deeper and more connected, and it is,
I'm not saying I wasn't a hoe.
No,
quote unquote.
I'm
not saying I didn't have some. I definitely.
You had your phase.
I definitely did.
Yeah.
I kind of just got out there.
Yeah. And for some people, like, that's the lifestyle. That's just like what they prefer. And they're like, hey, this is a fun activity.
I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I've never
seen all like.
Yeah. I've never seen an issue. I've never seen an issue with it. I just think some people just can't handle it. Like, you know how guys be like, oh, she look good. You know, I want her. And then he finds out like how many people she's been with or whatever, and he gets an attachment to her. It's like she can't be with anybody else.
That shit's cruel.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't want to use the word crazy.
No,
that's bad. But that shit is wild.
It's wild.
That's wild. You know,
but it's like
no, sir.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like guys have a harder time with detachment than women do.
I think sometimes you're right.
You know what I mean?
I think that there's a lot of expectations that women are like this thing that's like emotional and attached and blah, 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 which a lot of them are. Yeah,
no, that's true.
But I think that there are also a shitload of men and people who identify as men who are that. And we've created this storyline where that's not them and they're not allowed to be that. And it's like weird or whatever, instead of just being like, every human is a little different, you know, like
just accepting the fact that he's different. And that's what it is. Like,
that's how he works. And that's how this person works. And that's how they work. And that's how she works. And every individual is going to have a different experience and relationship to sex and sexuality and emotions and all that's connected to it. Like, normalize. That's the thing that's normal. The only thing that's normal is that we're all different.
Facts.
You know?
Yeah. Normalize that we're different. You know,
that's it. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's not weird. Because weird is good. Weird has negative connotations sometimes.
Yeah.
But weird is great. But it's like, maybe my experiences have driven me to believe I can't. So for instance, I've had, my sexual experiences have been very interesting because when I am with a woman, it seems like it's going to be like a one-off.
Yeah.
And I want it. I'm like, I come into it like, okay, cool. This is a one-off. And it never really happens. There's always some emotional attachment. And I don't know. And I have my guy friends like, yeah, we had sex, but I didn't call her or whatever. And like, they're cool. Like, the woman's fine with it.
Yeah.
I have not had that luxury for some reason. Even when it's like, we're just fucking, it's like, oh, okay. Like I think the last woman I was with, well, we're in a polyamorous relationship. Let me say that.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're in a poly relationship and I'm like, okay, we're going to do our stuff. She wouldn't want me to do anything. It was very interesting.
What do you mean?
Like I couldn't exercise the polyamory.
Oh, that's not polyamory then.
It's not.
Well, here's something that I find a lot.
Like, what am I doing?
Now, was this person, and we don't need to go into this if you don't want to,
no, it's all good.
but something that I see with a lot of people is that it'll be a polyamorous man and a monogamous woman. And again, like very binary, I'm talking cis, mostly straight relationships in this dynamic. What I have seen is that you'll have polyamorous man and monogamous woman that's like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll do this, because he's like, well, I'm polyamorous, and she's just fucking desperate, for lack of a better term. And like, I'm not saying that as a negative thing. I'm saying that, like, babe, you don't need to do that, because you're just going to be in pain, and you're just, everyone's going to get hurt because you are relenting, because society, like, I get it. People get lonely. Like society tells you have to be coupled. It gets lonely. People want to fuck. I get all of that. But they're saying yes to these things that they don't really want, out of that deep desperation to be with somebody, because they're lonely, because they want to fuck, because all of this. But now they're in a polyamorous situation, but they're a monogamous person.
Right.
And now this man is thinking like, oh yeah, I'm in this relationship. She agreed to it. But it's not about agreeing. It's about finding people who are actively looking for the same style of relationship. And that's what people are missing out. And because
that's a big thing for people.
It's a big thing. Because, and I know I'm saying desperate a lot, but like, honestly, that type of decision making comes from that emotion.
What else is it but desperation? I mean, it's really like, okay, I'm settling for something I don't want because I like this person.
Yeah, and, exactly.
You know,
and I don't want to be alone. And I finally found someone that I click with.
Yeah. And that's like, oh, I click with this person. Oh, I got to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like people pleasing.
And I think that's different from being open to trying it. But that's a conversation that most people are not in a position to have without professional support. Facts. And I'm not trying to just get work here. I'm just saying, I truly don't believe that the vast majority of people who are polyamorous and monogamous, or non-monogamous and monogamous, coming together and saying like, okay, I'm open to trying this thing.
Right.
Don't do it alone. Like, I'm telling you right now, do not do it alone. I have never seen it end well.
Really?
I have not ever seen it end well.
Interesting.
Because there are two people that fundamentally have different values and want different things out of their relationship.
Exactly.
And you're just going to try to make it work because you like each other. That's never going to work unless you share the same values and you fundamentally are looking for the same type of relationship. You're always going to be in this messy thing. And then guess what? You're going to make it messy for that other person's partners. You're going to make it messy for yourself, for that person. And you're going to hold yourself back from finding someone who actually is looking for monogamy with you, or who is looking for polyamory with you.
That's very true.
So like, this is such a setup that everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets hurt.
Yeah. I think this is a great conversation. And I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. And the first thing that comes to my mind is like honesty.
Yeah, transparency.
I don't know how comfortable people are with honesty.
They're not.
This is why some people are in bad relationships, because like somebody's not honest, or both. But it's like, I mean, I'm trying to gauge was I being honest? I mean, I think I came into it like, I just want to try this.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And it was her idea. I said, yeah, why not? Cool. And then when I wanted to exercise stuff, I don't know if I'm comfortable with you having sex with other women. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, that could have just been her exploring and finding out.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, and I was like, I respect that. And so I was kind of like, I don't know how to deal with this because I still like her. Yeah. And I still want to be with her and stuff like that. But I don't like this situation I'm in where I can't exercise it.
Absolutely.
When you have with other women, but it was usually other women.
Oh, and see, that's a whole other layer, because not a lot of times, but it has happened, and it does happen where if you're exercising your non-monogamy with someone of the same gender, then all of a sudden it's fine. But if you're exercising it with someone of the opposite gender, that's not fine. Or somebody who's non-binary, that's fine. But someone who is an opposite binary from you, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's it's like this weird
that's
loophole.
Also, and that's like, I mean, I think that's bi erasure too.
Okay.
Like, because it's not, so I'm having sex with someone with the same parts as me, and that is okay, but having someone with different parts than me is all of a sudden offensive. I'm still connecting with another human being. So what are we actually saying here?
Yeah, and I passed up on a lot of opportunity, like women that were interested, and I was like, okay. was like, really? I didn't exercise it when I could have, but just to like, this woman is not a bad person at all. She's awesome. Like I support her. Like I called her after I got there because I cried about the relationship, and I said, hey, we talked and stuff. But the reality was that was just an unfair exchange. Even if it was like you said, it was just it's the same gender. Didn't mean it was like, oh, and she knew I was cool with that.
Yeah.
She knew I was like, okay, it's another woman. Because also it's like any guy's like, okay, this is a possible threesome.
Yeah.
Okay, this is cool. And then when that got brought up, we never exercised that.
Yeah.
So there was like, oh, this is interesting.
Navigating non-monogamy is very hard. And that's why I say it's honestly best done with a professional, because we don't have examples to look to. We don't have playbooks. We don't have media showing us how this can be done in a healthy way. We don't have relationships around us. We have judgment around us.
We do.
We have stereotypes around us. We have false beliefs and bullshit and all this other stuff. Fuck around and find out. You're going to find out that it's not as easy as you think it is. And it does take a high level of emotional intelligence. EQ, baby.
EQ. I love that.
We love a good EQ.
Yeah.
But it also takes a high level of communication skills. It takes being honest with yourself, having those discussions. Like, you know what? Now that I'm coming up against this boundary, I don't know how comfortable I am with it. Now that I liked it in my mind, but now that we're practicing it, I don't feel comfortable with this.
That's good.
But it's not that person's job to say you can or cannot do it. It's that person's job to say, I'm not comfortable. This is where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to walk away from this. I want you to make the best decisions for yourself. But for me, this is not something that's working.
That's facts.
And then you can walk away and everyone, and you're not forcing somebody and asking someone, like the whole Jonah Hill thing when he's this is my boundary. My boundary is that you don't hang out with men. Bitch, that's control. And that's an abuse tactic.
It is abuse tactic. Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with someone that was like, I don't know. That's like abuse. That's not, you can't call that abuse. And I'm like, honey, abuse is not often physical. It's mostly this.
Yeah.
This is what it actually looks like. And it's control and it's isolation.
Definitely.
It's not raising your hands. Eventually it is in some cases, but the vast majority of abuse cases, and I don't know facts. So
we're talking,
do fact check.
She knows.
But I'm pretty sure the vast majority of abuse is happening in ways of gaslighting, control, manipulation, isolation,
especially
things like that.
For a guy like Jonah Hill, who's like, without the money is not a looker. You know what I'm saying? That's a power dynamic all the way. So he's like, I have the access you want, so you do what I tell you. Yeah. And
he's got multiple layers of, when we're talking power dynamics, it's multiple layers of power dynamics that play there.
So he's like, okay, I'm the pretty girl in the relationship now. Yeah. Which I think that's why a lot of guys like that want money. It's like, I want to be the pretty girl now.
Yeah.
I want to be the one where you're asking me what I can do. I want to make the rules.
Yeah.
Because they're resentful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Jonah Hill's issues was just his upbringing. His experience.
Yeah, his lived
experience. Being rejected, being the fat guy that nobody, in his mind, maybe, I'm sure this is what he thought of it. I'm a fat guy nobody likes. So I think he's so insecure that he feels the only way he can keep a woman is if he abuses her that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But and it's funny because he just released a Netflix thing about therapy.
Yeah. But listen,
which is like kind of crazy because
here's the thing.
I thought he was getting therapy. I'm confused.
Couple things.
Yeah.
One, not all therapists are good therapists. There are a lot of problematic therapists out there.
That's good.
So that's first and foremost.
I hadn't thought about that.
Second, just because you're in therapy doesn't mean, first, that you're with a good therapist. And second, that you are actually learning from that therapy and that you are practicing what you're learning and that you are actually making changes and implementing.
That's true.
So just because someone's like, I'm in therapy, fucking prove it. Let me see the proof in the pudding. Because if you're in therapy, then you should be seeing changes. That's also, when it comes to celebrity and anybody in a position of power, oftentimes the people who surround them are just wanting to appease them because they have access.
Yes, people.
Because again, positions of power. And that's, that's why intimacy coordinators exist, because we're there in part to break up these power dynamics that exist, to disrupt it and be like, okay, power dynamic in the room. We understand this. We see this. Let's navigate through this where we can break this down and not have this power dynamic fueling decisions and conversations and making people do things that they don't want to do.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, it's crazy. Well, not crazy, wild. It's wild. He is a narcissist. He has some classic narcissistic characteristics. For instance, and I think I'm seeing the pattern a little bit. Like, just the fact that he dropped that Netflix therapist video.
Look at me. I'm in therapy.
Yeah. When now looking back, like, why did we need to see that? Who was that for?
I didn't see
Therapy's
it.
for you, right? Like, I saw parts of it. I was like, what? It was all in black and white or something like that.
Oh.
It was very dramatic. And it was like, yeah, he looked like he's really trying to figure things out. But it was really just a performance of looking like I'm figuring things out.
Yeah, look at me. I'm in therapy.
And it really probably was, it's going to sound wild. He might have done that for the woman he was with. Like, just to kind of say, hey.
I don't know what that timeline looks like.
I don't know what it looks like either, but I feel like maybe it was just like, hey, I'm getting therapy. You know what I mean?
In hindsight now, it's
people see I'm getting therapy.
Yeah.
So you're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you're wrong about me.
You're wrong about me. That's a crazy gaslight to just drop a therapy video, whatever that was, and be like, yeah.
See? I'm in therapy.
Nothing's wrong with me. This is you. So it's like, whoa.
Chris, it's time for a pop quiz.
Oh, pop quiz time. Oh my God.
But I forgot that question. Look, close your
kids. It's all good. Okay.
Okay, now I have my question. I gotta maybe write them on cards.
It's okay.
What is an episiotomy?
Dang, an episiotomy? Ooh, I need a dictionary. You know, I'm gonna go off how it sounds. It sounds like when somebody is appeasing someone too much and they get, I don't know.
That's cute. That's cute.
That's cute. I know it's not what it is.
An episiotomy is not cute. It's when a person is giving birth and the head isn't quite fitting out of the vagina. And so they have to make a surgical cut from the opening of the vagina to the asshole.
Dang, I've heard of that.
It hurts.
I've heard when women give birth, the booty, it rips a little bit.
Like, yeah, it's to prevent the ripping because it's better to surgically cut the tissue than have the tissue torn apart like that. But it takes a long time to heal. It's very, very painful. Bless everyone who out here making babies, having babies. Like,
that's like you're risking your life. You know what I mean? Like having a baby.
100%, 100,000%.
Totally risking your life.
Having a baby. Carrying a child, very high risk to the carrier.
It's so true.
That's why abortion is so fucking important.
Yeah, right. Yeah, listen, I support abortion because my thing is like rape. And this is like where, you get to religious people that are very, everything's like, why would you get an abortion? But it's like, dude, like their body, their choice first. And the other thing is like everybody's situation is completely different. You cannot look at every situation of somebody being pregnant, say they're all the same. And that happens a lot. I mean, not that you need rape to get an abortion.
No.
But I'm saying that discussion is like, nobody talks about that. Like that make these points. Like abortion is, killing a baby, but it's like,
what about that?
What about that though?
Okay, you want
Does
to
rape not matter?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it doesn't because their bodies, the bodies of people who can get pregnant, especially if those people are women, and even more so if they're trans, to be honest. They do not care. They do not care.
That's terrible.
It's fucked.
It's picking and choosing.
And on that note, was there anything else that we didn't cover?
We have fun here. We laugh loudly.
This is a comedy show. I promise you.
I could talk to you forever.
I know. We do. We're gonna.
Is there anything sexual that you want to ask me about stuff? I don't know.
What that dick do? No.
What that dick do? Dang. Listen. Remember last time I talked to you at Matt's place? I was like, listen, now I'm advertising my dick, putting it out there on display. Was it the sound waves anyway? But my experiences with what my dick be doing is that usually, the women's be satisfied, and a lot of guys say that, but I've gotten confirmation through, I say the last 4 or 5 women I've been with, where it's like, no, this doesn't mean that I'm doing everything right, but the crying has been a big thing.
That's right. We were joking about how you make women cry when you fuck me.
I'm making them cry. And I used to think, I remember the first time I did that, I was like, what did I do? I thought I broke something. And then she was like, no, it feels really good. I was like, they cry. I really didn't know until it happened.
Yeah.
I had never heard of that. It was like, why is she crying? I was really startled. And so that I know my dick do something there. And then the orgasms, I remember, and I'm one of those guys that's cool with toys.
Yeah.
because I'm like, we got to get both of us off.
Yeah,
this is fair.
We got some fun to be had.
We got fun to be had.
There are things that feel good. Let's do feel good
stuff.
Yeah.
If you guys are in that, if you're really trying to have real sex, everybody should be pleased.
Absolutely.
At the end of it, like
it's play.
It's play.
It's play.
It totally is.
We're here to play.
We're here to play, and it's like, okay, so so my experience has been pretty good. I've had a few like really weird experiences because they're usually like one night stands.
Yeah.
Those don't ever.
They're not going to work out well.
They don't ever. Like,
they don't work out well.
Yeah, I had a 2-night stand the other
All right.
We met once and we met twice, and then I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. 2 nights. At least you're like,
yeah, I tried.
Night, we don't know. Second night.
Yeah, second night. Yeah, but I was like, I don't think this is for me. But yeah,
Yeah, that was a rhetorical question, but I love that you answered it.
I answered my own question on your podcast. I said, tell me this question. I was like, that was some celebrity stuff. These are questions you're going to ask me.
It is, yeah. Listen, your PR agent, Ruby.
Oh, yeah, my PR cat.
Ruby.
She said
your
it.
PR cat.
Black cat. Black man with a black
where
cat.
She went.
What would you like to ask me? I don't know. I just love your podcast. I think it's going to take off because it's already taken off right now as we speak. But
thank you.
This is great. People are going to listen to this and be like, wow, this is great. I can't believe I'm listening. This is fun.
Yay.
It's very refreshing.
Aw, thank you.
It is. It's really fun. This is fun to do.
Well, my question is, where can people find you?
Ooh, you can find me on The Chris Lewis on Instagram, TikTok, Face to the Book, Threads now.
Oh,
Threads, The Chris Lewis, TheChris LEWIS 3 S's. But I'm not a snake. And you can find me there. I don't know. Well, I'm doing some shows. I'm doing the Long Beach Festival this weekend. I know this is going to air later.
Yeah, this is going to be in September.
That's
September
okay.
16th, I think.
That's okay. I got shows coming.
Or ish.
Yeah, ish. Yeah.
No, before. I think September 6th. I think you're September 6th.
Okay, cool. September 6th is cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's a great day.
Perfect. Yeah.
9/6. Almost 6/9.
Oh, damn. This is the best. This is the best. This was meant to be.
Oh,
literally.
Boy.
This is awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. We've had so many great conversations. So I was like, I got to talk to this bitch on air.
I'm her bitch.
I told you, everyone in this house is this bitch.
I'm the bitch. No, this is great. You're great. This is so much fun. The time flew by.
It did. It goes by quickly. Thank you so much. If you like this podcast, tell your friends, subscribe, leave me a 5-star review, help me get the word out. I love doing this. People seem to like being on this. So if you like listening or watching this, then please do help us get the word out. This is in September, and September 24th is the Distinguished Gentleman's Drive. It's happening worldwide. It is where a bunch of people from around the world get into their pre-1980s vehicles, and they go on a lovely motoring drive and raise money for Movember. They do research for men's mental health, suicide prevention, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer.
Oh, that's awesome.
I am the host of LA's Drive, so there's still time to sign up. So if you go to Babes and Classics, get in that profile. That's everything you need to donate. I'm trying to raise $1,000 at least. So let's do it.
That's light work.
That's light work, baby. You can register to be in it wherever you are in the world, or you can volunteer to help. But that's it. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. So great. Bye.
Bye.